So now y'all come into my kitchen. This is Cooking Today. Hi, welcome to Cooking Today. Glad you're here. Happy Wednesday. Today, it's the month of love. It's February, and of course, I love to cook for my loves, my husband and my kids. I mean, it just gives me more joy than just about anything else to make something that I know that they adore. And they love these cupcakes, y'all. My family loves a good, rich chocolate cupcake with a raspberry buttercream frosting on the top. It's really, you could either make it a buttercream or a cream cheese by adding a little cream cheese in there. And because it's Valentine's Day, I'm adding the cream cheese, of course. So we've got this really good raspberry kind of cream cheesy frosting. Delicious, easy homemade, easy homemade chocolate cake recipe that even if you didn't put it in this, cupcake form, you could bake it in a bundt, you could bake it in a 9x13 or whatever. So if you're not up for cupcakes, spread this recipe right down into your regular old cake pan. Easy, really good too. So to get started, we have our oven preheating to 350. And then I am just getting in my flour. This is something I learned from my grandmother. As a matter of fact, a lot of people say that you really need to sift your flour because it kind of makes it a little finer and all that. But really what you're doing is you're just trying to get some air in there and kind of loosen it up. So when you're working in your flour container like this, just get a whisk. I'm using my little wooden spurtle. Just loosen it, fluff it, loosen it, give it a stir, and it does the same thing. Air, that's what we want. So I'm not sifting because that's a headache and makes a mess, but I am loosening. Isn't that simple? Okay, in the stand of my mixer, we are going to put 2 cups of flour. It's just regular old all-purpose. And then 2 cups of sugar, regular sugar. I'm gonna scoop that in there. 1, 2. I always use a little level to make sure that we're nice and even, because really baking is more of a science than an art. Cooking is more of a feel it, taste it as you go, that kind of thing. Baking is a little bit more of a science. It's a lot more of a science. So you want to be sure that you're accurate. Okay, so 2 cups of flour, 2 cups of sugar. And then to get our chocolatey in there, we're going to add 3/4 of a cup of cocoa. And you can use whatever flavor cocoa, whatever brand of cocoa powder that you like. This is unsweetened cocoa. This is not hot chocolate. I have had people ask me that before. It is not the same thing. Cocoa, unsweetened cocoa, okay? So here we go. We're gonna do 3/4 of a cup. Oh, this is the good stuff right here, y'all. Oh my goodness. 2, 3/4. Okay. Smells good already right there. Now, so those are kind of our basics. Now we need to add our leaveners, and this one actually has a mix of leaveners. Sometimes they just have powder, sometimes they just have soda, and this one actually has 2. So here's 2 teaspoons of baking powder. And I don't know if you saw, but in the end of last season, we actually showed you how to test your leaveners to be sure that they are fresh and that they are going to lighten your cakes and raise your cakes and your pastries and all. This is 1.5 teaspoons of soda. Here is a teaspoon of salt. So what we're doing is we're just putting all of our dry ingredients into the mixer, and then we're going to give these a whir. This is so opposite of how you do most cakes. Most of the time, or cookies, you cream your butter and your eggs, and you do your liquids first, and then you pour in your dry ingredients. This recipe kind of turns it up on its ear, and we're going the opposite direction with this. So, but This is simple. Simple, simple, simple way to do it. Okay, and then I did a teaspoon of espresso powder. It just richens the flavor of the chocolate. If you don't have espresso powder, then you don't have to add it in. It's just something that I like to do. So here we go. I'm just going to turn that on low and just incorporate our dry ingredients. Isn't that simple? Then all we have for our liquid ingredients, I have combined them both in the same measuring cup, but we have a 1/2 cup of vegetable oil and 1 cup of whole milk. We have 2 large eggs, vanilla, of course, and then we're going to boil / microwave, get it really, really hot, 1 cup of water. So I'm going to stick our water in the microwave and get this really, really nice and hot, about 1.5 or 2 minutes. Start pouring in our cold ingredients, our liquids. When we come back, we'll pour this in and I'll show you how it's done. This is Cooking Today. Hi, welcome back to Cooking Today. I am making my family's favorite little chocolate cupcakes with this delicious raspberry, like buttercream cream cheese frosting on top with fresh raspberries in it. There's our boiling water. So just for a real special treat for them, really, really good. They're cakey, they're rich. That chocolate cake is so good, and it's light, but it's rich and, you know, warm with all that good chocolate in it. And then this frosting is creamy, and it's got that little sweet tart tang from fresh raspberries. It's just no wonder that this is one of their very favorites. And then, of course, I love sprinkles. I mean, like little nonpareils give me more joy than they probably should. I love them. I order them special, and I have a whole cabinet full of them that I completely am, you know, wild about. I just love them. So you can put really fun sprinkles on the top of them. Okay, we have our dry ingredients that we've mixed together first in our mixer. And then I've added in a little milk, a little oil, and 2 eggs that I've already kind of beaten. We're going to do 2 splashes of vanilla. And then we boiled a cup of water in the microwave. I just did my sturdy glass measuring cup with the pour spout, measured the 1 cup, and then put it inside there to get really, really hot. And then very, very slowly, so that you can kind of watch it. It's like a slow, slow, slow drizzle. With our mixer on low, we're pouring in this hot, hot water. This is a very wet batter. I know you may look at it and think, oh my goodness, I've done something terribly wrong, or this sure can't be right. It is a very wet batter. Liquid, liquid, liquid. It's not cakey like a brownie by any means. So we do want to incorporate this and mix it really well. So what I like to do is get one of my dish towels and cover this, because we're about to turn it up on high. And I'm going to do it slow, slow. And then we're going to bring it on up. And the reason that I have my, here we go. The reason you have your dish towel on there is because this is so wet. Oh, y'all didn't tell me it got sucked in there. Oh, my end got sucked in. Well, and it spews out. So here's what you need to know. That doesn't happen in real life when you can see both sides of your mixer, but when you're on TV and you don't see the other side. So you want to have your mixer with your dish towel over the bowl, not in the bowl. And what you need to have done is leave it on here, and we're going to turn this up to high for about a minute. The reason we have the dish towel on there is because I said this batter is so, so wet, it will actually kind of spit out and spew, which would be entirely less messy than what just happened there, but that's okay. Am I still in it? Oh, good. We just want to let this go. Now, what you need to have ready, pre-thinking, you need to kind of be ready to make your frosting, is that you need to have your butter and your cream cheese entirely at room temperature, not just about 20 minutes or 30 minutes, but maybe a couple of hours. You want it to be really nice and smooth so they incorporate and that cream cheese just gets so smoothed out and it mixes so beautifully with the butter, but it needs to be entirely room temperature, not cool straight out of the fridge. So if you even think you're gonna make this in the morning, what you might wanna do is have it, that looks terrible. Give me a minute. Don't show that side. Only show the pretty side. I'm bossing the cameramen around. They know, they're used to it. Okay, so we have our thick mixture. Oh, it dripped. Y'all, it's so good. Now, what we wanna do is, I have my cupcake liners. This is super important. Okay, so is everybody listening? Most recipes for cakes say to fill them, for cupcakes, tell you to fill them 2/3 full. If you fill these 2/3 full, they're gonna go up and over. There's gonna be a lot of loft. Remember how we used 2 leaveners? We used soda and powder. So you're gonna think you're not filling them enough. You are filling them enough, okay? Half, not anywhere over half, because they're gonna poof up and over, and then you're gonna have a muffin top. And we all know that muffin tops are not good things. We don't want muffin tops. You want them to have a nice, smooth top on them. Sometimes it happens. Sometimes I overfill and you never know. You can still eat it, for crying out loud, but it's not gonna be nearly as pretty if it's a little too poofed up and over. So this recipe makes 24 cupcakes, halfway filled, and we have our oven set to 350, and I'm just using my little scoop here. You could use a little ladle if you'd like. Halfway full. We're gonna put them in a 350-degree oven for about 15 minutes, and when we come back, we're gonna make our frosting. This is Cooking Today. Hi, welcome back to Cooking Today. I'm making a really fun kind of Valentine-y treat today. Delicious homemade chocolate cupcakes with a delicious, rich, sweet, tart, and tangy, creamy raspberry frosting. Doesn't that sound so good? Did I use enough descriptive words on that? I mean, I hope so, because there's a lot to say about this delicious little treat. I have made my cupcakes. We made a homemade chocolate cake, dry ingredients. We poured in our wet ingredients, mixed them up, poured in our hot boiling water, and then made a mess. I don't know if you were here for that part or if you're just tuning in, but we made a big mess and cleaned that all up, and I baked them. And remember, I said you want to be sure not to overfill your cupcakes. You're going to think you're not putting enough in, but if you just fill them halfway, then you get these beautiful little cupcakes. And so these have come out of the oven. They baked for about 15-16 minutes or so. That's actually not too hot. And see how they're just perfectly flush with the top of your cupcake liner? That's what we want. If this were to go up and over, you've done this, it sticks to the pan. You have to kind of scrape that loose. And then you have kind of a funny little surface area that you need to frost. These are great. So we want to let these cool, 100% cool, for about, I don't know, however long it takes us to make our frosting, but you don't want them to be warm because your frosting will kind of melt and slide right off. So, cupcakes are cooling. We have a half a stick of unsalted butter, a half of a block, an 8-ounce block of cream cheese, so 4 ounces of cream cheese, very much at room temperature. So I have probably had these sitting at room temperature for about 4 or 5 hours, and they're really, really good. So in that short amount of time already in the mixer, they have already completely combined. Okay? And then, here we go. I'm going to add in our powdered sugar. Now, I usually do you need to have about 5 to 6 cups on hand. You may not use every bit of it, because at the end, you're starting to kind of use your eyeballs and your senses to get the right consistency. So there's probably about 5 cups in this little pitcher right here that I'm using. And I'm pouring in about half of it. because we want to kind of get it combined in with our butter and our cream cheese. If you were to pour all of that in at one time, it would just be a big powdery mess. And so we're going to give that a little whir and let that get going. Then I'm going to add a little bit of milk at a time, maybe a teaspoon, teaspoon and a half. I want to get a little bit of liquid in there. And then I'm going to do the same with vanilla. I'm just going to splash it in. Splash of vanilla, maybe 2. There's an official recipe for this on our Facebook page. Sometimes I follow it and sometimes I just kind of wing it, but the recipe on the website page will work without question. Okay, so I wanted to kind of get our little creamy paste going first. I like the tiniest splash of almond. Love almond. Okay, so now we've really gotten this nice and smooth. I'm going to let you look. Okay, see, nice and smooth. This is only with half of the powdered sugar in it. Okay, look, it's really soft. Okay, then, oh my goodness, I got a little waft of that almond. It's delish. Now, okay, wait. Now we're going to pour in the rest of our powdered sugar. It's probably the other 2.5 cups. It's kind of like you want to make your little smooth base with all your little flavors in it first. I'm going to do about that and then leave about a cup and then stir it in little bit by little bit. So you kind of want to get that smooth, creamy base first and then start adding the rest of your powdered sugar in until you get the consistency right that you like. Now, we're making kind of Valentine's Day-ish cupcakes. I have a tiny bit of red food coloring. I'm just doing 1 drop, just enough to tint it because we have some raspberries, fresh raspberries, literally about, I don't even know, 1/4 cup. I'm looking for a 1/4 cup to eyeball it. Probably 1/4 cup, 1/8 cup. Fresh raspberries. I'm going ahead with all 5 of my cups. Fresh raspberries. All I did with them is put a little bit of sugar on them, and I literally just went like this with the water. Just enough water on them just to kind of like wet that sugar. And then they have macerated down and gotten real liquidy and yummy. And they're going in. So they are going to start coloring our frosting too. So all that goes in that frosting is butter and cream cheese, powdered sugar, a couple splashes of vanilla, tiny bit of almond in there. I did a little tiny bit of milk. And then our raspberries, and it's made it so nice and pink. Now, here is where you have to really be thinking about your consistency. It can't be so smooth, isn't that pretty? That it's wet and falling. You need to actually play with your powdered sugar a little bit more. So because those raspberries had a little bit of extra water in them, a little liquid, I need to thicken this just a little bit more. So I'm just gonna add about 1/2 cup at a time of powdered sugar till it's really smooth and spreadable without being too runny. So that's where you're gonna have to eyeball. You're gonna know your frosting. You're gonna know how it looks. I'm gonna give this a little spin. When we come back, we're gonna frost our cupcakes. This is cooking today. Hi, welcome back. We are wrapping up Valentine's Day chocolate, delicious homemade chocolate cupcakes with raspberry cream cheese frosting. We have passed the beater. It's delicious frosting. We love it. I cannot wait for you to try these. So we have let our cupcakes cool. Look how nice and flush those are. See, nice and flat. And also, I always bake my cupcakes in doubled up liners because I want to see that this is a white cupcake liner. You know how sometimes you get cute ones that are like gingham or have like little Easter eggs or hearts on them? Because if you were to not do that, then once the cupcake kind of saturates the liner on the inside, you don't get your cute design anymore. So I always do it in 2s. Now, we have let our cupcakes cool entirely. We have mixed up our frosting so that it's spreadable, thick enough, but thin enough. And you just almost have to kind of practice run it. Then I take my flat tool and I just dollop right on the top. I don't pipe frosting. I don't know how. That's for fancy people. But stay-at-home mamas and, you know, regular old cooks like me, I just take my flat tool and I dollop it on the top And then I kind of pat from the center to the outside. And then I just kind of give it a little swirl with my tool right on top. And then the truth of it is, it doesn't even matter because look, we're gonna sprinkle. I have some really, really fun sprinkles that I've bought. And here we go. While the frosting is a little bit wet, sprinkle those, and then raspberry on top, right upside down. Precious Valentine's Day delicious chocolate and fruity raspberry cupcakes. Hope you'll try them at home. Love every bite. This is Cooking Today. So cute.